And now, recorded in front of absolutely nobody in their subterranean recording studio deep in the bowels of the Cigar Club of Indiana, it's time for the Five Stones Podcast.
All right, hello and welcome to the Five Stones Podcast. I am but one of the hosts. I am Raymond Modulin, a.k.a. the Real Estate Monkey, and it looks like surrounding me today, I'm but a rose between two, what's the word? Thorns. Oh, I was going to say pricks. But, and to my left, I have
Joe Trester, the Real Estate Advocate.
I am Colin Hedegaard, known as the Great Dane.
Well, gentlemen, I'm glad we have all been on an extended vacation, so this is the first time back, and I'm once again still touting new camera for me. So I'm in a new studio that's not finished yet, so it's a new camera. So excuse me, but I'm still touting my ever popular AJ Fernandez cigars. Gentlemen, what have you got?
FASA by CAO.
I have a Padron 7000 today.
Oh, Padron's good. Colin's been kind of consistent lately with his CAOs, but you've been all over on the brands. What have you found one that you particularly like? I know you've tried several different ones here lately.
Honestly, whenever I smoke other things besides the Padron 7000, I often wish I just had a Padron, but sometimes you got to mix it up. So I've been trying CAOs, trying some La Flor Dominicans, which are all good. They're different.
Right.
They just...
Well, this one is a different size. This is a Toro. Now, it's funny, and maybe just because I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, I normally smoke the Gordo size. Same company, same brand, same cigar. But you would be astounded at how different this cigar tastes than the Gordo. Matter of fact, I actually said something to Joe one day. I said, hey, have you tried these? Because they have a different palate taste to me than the same cigar in just a different size of cigars.
Is it better?
I wouldn't say it's better. I would say it's different. Better would be hard because, like I said, for 3 years I've been doing basically the same cigar, and this is rare that I bought a box of these. So it is different. It's a different taste. I would put it akin to, Colin, you and I are big coffee drinkers. It would be like drinking McDonald's coffee and then going to Starbucks. Now, I personally don't think Starbucks is a good coffee, but the point I'm trying to get at is both black coffees are different. Actually, I am not sponsored by, but to me, the Speedway coffee is better. So it's not better. Five Stones Mortgage Coffee.
It's brought to you by Kirkland, powered by Costco.
Yeah. Joe, have you noticed any difference in Monster? We ought to look up some sponsorships and see if we can get some sponsorships. Brand placement. Speedway. Joe, do you always try and stick to the same size of cigars?
Yes and no. I have come to the conclusion, like some of these that Colin likes to smoke as well. There's a La Flor Dominican that is very long, and I've noticed that the longer they get, the more sour tasting they get sooner. So I have kind of gone to a shorter cigar in the long run. I feel like I get more flavor of the cigar longer.
The smaller
smoke all the way through it.
Now,
smaller cigars have more flavor. There's less filler. So
yeah,
the real connoisseur will tell you that
I sat through a seminar once that was talking about the new 60 ring, and 60 rings for you out there is 1 inch. The big 60 ring cigars are becoming popular with a lot of people because of the fact I think they think it looks cool. But they were saying that when you start getting back into the 48 ring and the Lanceros, that the flavors are better because the ratio of the wrapper leaf to the filler is better for taste. And when you start getting into the big ring cigars, 60 plus, you've got so much filler compared to the 1 or 2 leaves that are the wrapper that it is a worse taste.
These particular CAOs, I will tell you, I fell not victim, but I was. They had a promotion, a marketing promotion, where if you bought a box of these, you got 8 free cigars. So for me, there was a value proposition there that I would get 8 extra cigars with the purchase of a box, and they were reasonably priced. So I tried them, and they were pretty good. So
Yeah.
I
Have either one of you tried the brick cigar?
I've smoked.
Yes.
The brick cigar, to me, for the price point, is probably one of the best cigars. It's right at that $5 price range, and it is a long smoking, very flavorful cigar, especially the Maduro one. So if you're new to cigars out there and you're looking for something to try, I would advocate going to your local store and asking for the brick. It's just called the brick. It's box press, meaning it's square looking, which is probably hence the name the brick. But it's in that $5, $5.25, and for that price, it's probably one of the best flavors.
I smoke those a lot on a golf course. And when I'm on a golf course, because I've got the wind blowing at it and it chews away at a cigar, I smoke those a lot on a golf course. I smoke those a lot when I'm doing yard work. If I'm going to be out with the lawnmower, I mean, great. You're going to burn through it a little bit with the wind, so you're not putting $12 into something that you're going to burn half away with just by being out in the elements.
I hate to break this to the listeners and to you two, but inflation has hit the bricks, and they're now $5.99 and $6.49. So
I still think if you take into consideration that fact, then Colin, that probably everything else has adjusted up a little bit. Yep. For that price point, it's probably the best cigar.
There's hardly smokable cigars at $6, so it's a very good cigar for the price, no doubt. I was just kind of making a poke at inflation.
Well, I'm old. I'm still used to the old pricing. Now, one of the other things about the big ring cigars, the plus in the plus column would be the different amounts of flavors they can create because they have a lot more filler, thus allowing them to use what they call primings. When you look at a tobacco plant, there are leaves on the bottom and they go up, and they call those primings. So when they start using fillers that are more than average or more than normal in those big ring cigars, they can combine second primings with fifth primings and third and fourth and mix a total different formula for different tasting. So that is one of the pluses, is that it allows for a lot of varying flavors in the cigar if they're bigger ring because of that, where like a Lancero might have just one leaf or one priming of a leaf, so it's always the same. So that's another advantage.
Well, also the time that they take to smoke. Now, for me, if I'm going to smoke a lot or every day, I like the cigar. I like to get a couple hours out of it. So the Padron 7000 is exactly right. Lasts about 2 hours for me, and it's less flavor. It's a little bit of a bigger cigar.
There is one that Colin is particular to. Let me enunciate this to make sure it's clear. Called a digger cigar with a D. All right. I have seen Colin smoke one in a whole round of golf. So 4
How
hours
does he finish it?
for that cigar.
I have once made it from central Indiana to central Florida smoking 2 of those.
Yeah.
That got me that long. So
Either that's really slow or you're driving really fast, one of the two.
maybe somewhere in between.
That's a very big cigar, but it has a lot of smoke. That one's not for the faint of heart.
No.
Yeah, no.
Do not start by smoking that cigar.
Double Ligero, whatever that means, and double Maduro.
I've got a funny story about that. Colin brought one of his friends in once to the cigar store who had never smoked and was interested. And we heard Colin say, well, here's what the one I like. And everybody in the store is like, no, don't. He'll be sick if you give him that one first. So it is not for the faint of heart. That is correct. It is a very strong cigar. Now, Joe brought up another point that I think other people don't think about is cigars taste different in the environment. If you're in your car, per se, or out doing lawn work, or I know Joe has a boat if he's out on the boat, that cigar is going to smoke hotter because of the constant wind, therefore changing the flavor. And something you might normally get an hour out of, you might only get half an hour on the boat.
Yep.
So I know that I'm guilty of not smoking different cigars in those environments, and I end up paying for it in the long run. But it's kind of unique. Do you guys have a set like Joe, especially? Is this my boat cigar, and this is my relaxing cigar, and this is a morning cigar?
I don't do like a specific morning cigar one, but I mean, on the boat, I won't do expensive cigars. I mean, really my go-to is the brick because for the price point, if it burns up in a half hour, I didn't just spend $15 on something that is gone. Now, if I'm sitting on my back porch at home in an evening and, perhaps sampling a lovely bourbon while watching something on the television, I might have a really nice Padron, or a Plasencia. Maybe I'll buy that $20, $25 Plasencia and really enjoy that 3 or 4 hours of quiet time in an evening. So it just kind of depends on the mood.
I thought I read something, and it relates in a way, but it works the opposite manner. Is many times if I'm on vacation, I'll go to the local shop and grab a few sticks, and they don't have my normal stuff, so I'll try some different things. But certain times when you're experiencing something, say I'm up early in the morning alone walking on the beach at Treasure Island, and whatever I'm smoking, the experience is so good that it makes that cigar seem really good.
Yeah.
And then I'll later maybe buy those and say, I don't remember it. I remember it tasting better than this. But sometimes the experience you're having can also enhance the pleasure that a cigar would bring, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's a very good point. A lot of cigar guys enjoy the experience of the cigar, being with friends, with a nice glass of bourbon or scotch, as opposed to, driving in your car by yourself. So Colin's right. I think a lot of that flavor also is born out of what we mentally associate. Oh, I sat with some buddies last night, had a couple bourbons, had a nice cigar. You taste that same cigar again at home by yourself, and like Colin was saying, oh, doesn't seem to taste the same. So there is that social component as well.
Well, and I think a lot of that, there's some memory and some experiential feeling that you get about a specific cigar. Like, for me, I remember the very first real cigar I ever had, because a Swisher Sweet doesn't count when you're 18. Sorry, doesn't count. But, and now 21, because I'm aging myself. Can't even get them at 18 anymore. But the very first cigar I ever had, I was sitting outside at a coffee shop with my dad. and the very first one was a Macanudo Portofino, because he was the Macanudos at the time. They aren't anything special, but when I smoke one, it gives me a feeling and reminds me, the taste, the smell, all of it takes me back to that moment in time. It makes me think about it. So
Yeah.
I think there's that aspect as well.
Cigars have provided really a connection to a lot of people and events and business and all kinds of things in the three of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that translates to other things, pickleball as an example. I'm sure a lot of people love pickleball and it brings them together in ways they can't imagine. But cigars have been that for me personally, the friends I've made and the business, relationships and clients just come from the natural environment that, when you spend time and you have a circle of people and knowledge about a subject, it's just like-minded people seem to, group up. So cigars get a bad rap a lot of times, but for my life, it has brought a lot of my friends and good experiences and successes into my life. So
I'm sorry, Colin. He's exactly true, the networking. But I was busy looking at the background of my new studio, and I had the camera situated so that it looked like my head divided like two colors. So I'm going to have to switch that up a little bit because it was driving me crazy. Now, I would also feel remiss if we didn't mention here Cuban cigars.
Yeah, we should talk about those.
Because one of the first things that I notice when people ask me about cigars or they see me smoking a cigar and they're like, oh, well, I had a good Cuban the other day. That usually is the insight to me to no, you didn't. All right. So let me be the first, and I'll go on record here first to say that Cuban cigars are not what they used to be. So, matter of fact, they're probably now, I would rank them below Nicaragua or Honduras, below those even.
Dominicans, all of it. Yeah.
I think the scientific truth of the matter, if you dug into it, is that the Nicaraguans and Hondurans and South American cigars are what Cuban cigars used to be, because they literally took the Cuban seeds and grew them over there when things went bad in Cuba. And but Cuban cigars from the 50s and 60s and the ones that JFK was hoarding before the Bay of Pigs and all that were probably significantly better, because now I haven't had a good Cuban cigar, I don't think, for a long one or two have been decent, but I don't enjoy them.
The seed is called the Cuban 63. It was exported when a lot of those refugees left Cuba and went to Honduras and started rolling cigars. So like Colin's saying, now you start looking at a Honduran cigar, it probably is closer to what most people would think used to be the Cuban cigar. Now they're not that good. And there's some other technical stuff we could get into about.
You just want to get into the soil aspect of it. The
That's
soil
where I was going.
Better. When you have an island that has been shut off essentially to the world for 80 years, things are not handled the way that they should be. I mean, their soil represents the 1957 Chevy that they're driving around with a leaf blower engine pushing it. I mean, it just isn't the same.
Yeah. Cuba just continually plants tobacco, where Honduran cigars, they rotate crops to infuse proteins and minerals back into the soil. So one year it might be tobacco, next year it's corn, so that they rotate those and put those soil minerals back. Where Cuba, like Joe is saying, it is a secluded island, and all they do is every year continue to plant tobacco. It has basically destroyed the soil as well. So there are a whole bunch of technical factors.
There is something to be said for having something you're told you can't have. It's just a little bit better, though. So something psychological happens when you get a Cuban cigar. Ooh, I'm not supposed to have this.
I think that's what a lot of these people that talk to me, they're like, oh, well, I had a good Cuban the other night. And no, you didn't. It was either A, it wasn't good, or B, it probably was a knockoff and sold it to you at a Cuban price, and it wasn't. Especially guys that aren't cigar smokers. Oh, I had a good Cuban. How would you know a good Cuban if you're not a cigar smoker? I mean, the three of us could taste one and go, this isn't good, or this isn't Cuban. Either way.
My grandparents went to Cuba for their honeymoon. This would have obviously been in the probably 30s or 40s, but I find that amusing.
Yeah.
Well, my parents just 5 or 6 years ago took a cruise to Cuba when they lifted the embargo for a while.
Yeah.
They were there.
And now I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can actually bring cigars back from Cuba. I think you can bring 100.
Yeah.
But doesn't it say something that you don't see dozens and dozens of boxes? Nobody's bringing them because they aren't good.
Yeah.
If they were delicious, wouldn't people be bringing them? I mean,
well, the other aspect of that is, I don't have the exact percentage, but I would say at least 90% of them are fake. They aren't real to begin with.
At least in the
You don't know what you're getting.
Now, when I was in Paris last summer or this summer, we saw a lot of Cuban cigars because there obviously is no embargo there in Europe with Cuba. So Paris had a lot of, matter of fact, there was a cigar store that was called, Cuban Cigars. They were kind of original in how they named it. So
we're the only country that has a problem with the commies.
I guess. And that's a whole other...
That is a loaded comment.
That's a whole other...
We do have a problem with commies.
Things are looking up for Cuba then.
So, one other comment that you hear a lot with cigar smokers, theoretically, I have heard that in the morning you should have a lighter cigar, and as you go through the day is the darker cigars. Much like, I guess, you would have a latte in the morning and then black coffee in the evening. I tend to not do that.
I don't do that.
I start with the same cigar in the morning. It's the same Maduro cigar in the morning that I smoke in the evening.
Perhaps our taste buds are just destroyed, and I drink straight black coffee all day, strong cigars all day.
I would prefer to say our taste buds are trained.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Did I say destroyed? I meant trained. Seasoned.
Did I say that? I meant trained.
No, I think we probably smoke cigars more frequently than a lot of people do.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. Anyhow, I smoke them more frequently than a lot of people do.
Does either one of your wives know how much you spend annually on cigars?
Of course.
Yes.
Fully transparent.
Bullshit. I've got a separate bank account that I have a debit card with. I don't tell my wife that. My wife would be the first one to go, we could have went to Paris again on that.
Raymond.
Yeah, Raymond.
Much like
I love you.
The dark underside of retail business prefers cash, I also prefer cash.
Yes.
In our world.
So I don't even want to go on record to even hazard a guess, but I know.
Well, I mean, it's not difficult to figure out. If you have an idea what the cigar costs and you know you're going through 3 to 5 a day.
But I smoke one a day, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Bullshit.
One a day at a time. One right now.
I only smoke one cigar at a time.
Yeah.
Which that's not always true. I've found that before where I set one down, couldn't find it, lit another one. So I've had 2 going at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Which is more expensive, the addiction of golf or the addiction of cigars?
Golf, 100%.
And it's not 100%. It's close.
Ooh. So I'm a golfer that smokes cigars. Now you know why I don't go on vacation. That's my vacation. I just spread it out annually budget and play golf and smoke cigars.
There you go.
We're over on time.
Well, guys, it was good seeing you again. I know that we strayed from the topic today, but I think this was a good topic, especially for the beginners. So if you're a beginner cigar smoker, here's the one thing you should take away from this. Don't smoke a Cuban cigar. All right.
I got one very important tip. If you live in central Indiana, you should join the Cigar Club of Indiana.
Yes.
That's the place to be.
Joe's actually sitting right in front of the logo.
I am.
How about
he is at the club currently having a cigar.
Someone should come have their first cigar in our fourth seat and tell us their story.
Let's do it.
That would be cool. If we could get a fourth seat. If you're a non-cigar smoker and you thought about trying one, we'd like to bring you under our wing and get you a cigar. Now, like Joe said, we're not talking White Owl or anything like that. We'll give you actually a good cigar. So if you'd like to come on and be our fourth chair as your first cigar, that would be cool.
The big caveat, and I want to put this out there because this is going out everywhere, you have to be 21. Sorry, we're not going to contribute to the delinquency of, I guess not necessarily a minor, but people.
So does the law say they can't smoke at 18? They just can't buy?
They've already swiped our podcast to the left or whatever the bad side is. So, under 21's not going to be at this point.
Yeah, you can join the army and die for your country at 18, but damn it, don't have a cigar.
Yeah.
Or a handgun.
Or a handgun to defend yourself that you're fighting for your country with.
Or rent a car.
Now, here's something funny on a side note. When I was in the military, 18 could drink.
Well, have them deploy you where you can go over there and drive multi-million-dollar tanks, smoke cigars, do what you want to do, and then come home and, oh, no, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was in the States. You had to be on base. That was the only caveat. In the military, we could drink on base at 18. And like Joe said, at 18, I'd fired a wall rocket, M60, thrown hand grenades, all of that. So, of course, I'm kind of dating myself. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you and invite you back. And once again, hit the subscribe button and the like. If you have never had a cigar and would like to have your first one on air with an actual group of real cigar smokers, put something in the comment and our producer will reach out to you. Until then, gentlemen, I will see you later.
Hurrah!